What's up, peeps? Welcome to Copper Cactus DIY. In today's video, I am taking my Amazon shipping containers and I'm turning them into a cardboard coffee table with storage drawers. You're not going to want to miss it, so stick around and let's get started right now. So I took measurements, but only because I want this to fit in my specific space. If you're going to make this table, your measurements will vary, so I'm just not including that here, and I cut all of my cardboard off camera. I pulled these casters off a piece of furniture ages ago. I have no idea what that even was, and they're just sitting in my stash, so I figured I'd use them for this project. I also used masking tape to tape up any exposed edges or anywhere the two pieces of cardboard meet. I mostly used hot glue to glue sections together, but I used wood glue to glue layers together. That way it wouldn't get all thick with the hot glue in there. Once that was done and I had all the edges taped, I could get to decoupage. I'm just using a mix of Mod Podge and water at about a 50-50 ratio and some packing paper to cover everything. You can see these corner blocks here that have holes in it. I set those up for the casters, and if you stick around, you're gonna see why that was an epic fail. I repeated all those steps for decoupage on the drawers. And then I did the same for each of the bases individually. I only filmed this first side. I figure you get the point by watching this one and know what I did on the other side. Quick note on the materials and supplies I'm using in this video. The cardboard, I've had all of that on hand either since we moved back in April 2023 and I cut down all of our moving boxes for this very purpose, or it's from Amazon shipments when we've had stuff sent to us. Again, I save all those boxes. Also, the supplies that I'm using, like joint compound and hot glue and stuff, I had all of that on hand already, so that worked out pretty great. Then off camera, I glued the two side pieces with the drawer bases down to the base. Not sure why I phrased it like a question. I did in fact glue those two drawer bases down to the base. I had to scrap the top together using a whole bunch of different pieces and boxes, and unfortunately those boxes didn't all meet up exactly right. So I did cut down another box into some strips, and I used those strips to fill in the gaps on either end where I had this like quadruple thickness of missing cardboard. So I did end up using hot glue to glue these ones into place because I wanted them to be super sturdy and to be ready to go way faster than if I had used wood glue to glue these in. I did still use tape around the edges of this, and I'm pretty sure you'll see that coming up in a second, but if not, just know that that's what I did there too. While I glue up some cardboard, let me just take a second to thank today's sponsor. You know what? I can't say it's a sponsor actually because it's me. For those who don't know, what up? I'm Jen Shawn, aka Jen Flynn Shawn. Most of you know me from this creative venture, but in addition to faux finishing and furniture, I'm an author with 10 published titles, and as of July 2024, when I'm filming this video, I am just weeks away from publishing my 11th book, titled You Classy Beach, or Are Mermaids Always This Snarky? The essay collection chronicles my life's ridiculousness on various beaches around the world. So, if you're into reading sassy nonfiction about badass Gen X women, namely me, check out the link to my website in the description below. Sign up over there with your email to get Consistently Inconsistent, the newsletter, and you'll get news on releases, behind the scenes, early access to books, new witty humor stories, and so much more. Thanks for listening, peeps, and now back to the cardboard coffee tabletop. Then I repeated all of that on the other side, and I cleaned up any glue squeeze out as I went using an excess piece of cardboard so I didn't burn myself or leave any chonkers behind. I didn't film myself doing the decoupage on the top because I kind of feel like you get the idea from all the other pieces that I already showed doing that decoupage, so I'm not sharing that here. But this step that I'm doing right now is where I'm attaching the top to the base. Well, I guess technically I'm attaching the base to the top. I laid the top down flat on the ground, and then I tried to get the base parts as centered as I could possibly do. This is a cardboard coffee table. It's only needing to last us about a year and a half, so it's not crucial that it lasts forever. This is more of like an experiment and a fun thing that I can try to do and see if it works out. So I lined it up as best as I could. It's pretty well centered, and I think it turned out nice, but I just used hot glue to attach the top and the base, and then I went back in with more decoupage paper to fully seal it up. Then I promptly forgot to film anything for, a while. As you can see here, I already got my first coat of plastery goodness on this entire piece. So I didn't film the decoupage of all of the parts together. I didn't film, as you can see, like right here, there is some like weird undulation. That's because I put some side pieces on as well. Didn't film that either. And I just used this all-purpose joint compound plus my Japan scraper. I put one pretty solid coat on everywhere. This is one of those projects where I can use as much as I want. It doesn't matter if it cracks. I'm gonna sand it, I'm gonna texturize it. This really needs to be like just on there. Then I went in with a second coat that I also didn't film. Sorry about that. Again, this just got slapped on however I needed to, just to fill in gaps, fill in areas and whatnot. And then I made sure that I was like doing texture and stuff that was going to look like wood grain. I'm really going for an extremely distressed rustic look of wood grain on this piece, so anything I could do to like slap it on there, literally slapping it on there with my Japan scraper, I was able to do that. It turned out looking pretty good, and it did help to hide some of the undulation. At least, you know, if you look right at it, you can see it, but it did help hide some of that undulation, and it covered up a lot of those gaps. Then I went in with coat 3. Again, using my all-purpose joint compound, but this time instead of the Japan scraper, I used a very well-worn chip brush. Scooped right in there and just painted it right on. You're just going for something that looks kind of like wood grain. It's going to leave some raised and exposed grain. That went really fast because I already had the other 2 coats on. And again, I wasn't even coming close to striving for perfection here. I just wanted coverage, and I wanted to make sure that the wood graining looked like wood graining. This took me, I don't know, probably about a week or so to get everything on because I live in a really humid place now, and yeah, it doesn't dry quite as fast as it used to when I lived in Arizona. And now, moving on with the rest of the project. With all the coats on and fully dry, I came back in with my Japan scraper to scrape off any large chunks that were sticking up on the surface. I ran a very light rad pad, I think it was extra fine, over the entire surface just to give it one smoothing, but I didn't want to lose any of that graining. After that, I vacuumed off all of the dust, I wiped it down off camera, and then I got ready to get painting. I'm using this sample from Benjamin Moore that I ordered about a jillion years ago to do my bedroom back in Phoenix when we did our cave life of our dreams. I never ended up using this paint for that, and it's going to be the perfect base color. What I'm trying to do here is to mimic, as best as I can, the look and feel of the wood graining on my trash container that's across the room from this piece. So I'm starting out with this deep purple color as my base, and I did 2 coats. I only did the first one on camera. Then it was time to do my favorite part, always, the faux finishing. And to do that for this piece, I'm using about a 5-to-1 mix of this Pickling White Stain and Seal from Faux Effects, and I'm mixing in about that 1 part Set Coat from Faux Effects. I will flash the name of this Set Coat color up on the screen because I'm not even trying to pronounce that right now. To apply this mix, I'm just going to use a sponge. This is actually a car washing sponge that I cut down into 4 pretty equal pieces. It's dry, and I want to make sure that I'm just getting a very light coat on to start. That way I can always build it up, but it's a lot harder to take it away, you know? So I wanted to make sure that I was going in just with as light a hand as possible. I used the stir stick to apply it to the sponge, and then I just went lightly across the surface with the sponge, or at least I tried, and then after that little mishap, I got back on track, and I just pulled across the way I had done the graining in the same direction. I want it to be a directional finish, but the graining parts that I put underneath are gonna really help to sell that anyway. After I finished that first coat, I did take a step back and I decided it was a little bit light for my liking, so I did go back in with another, I guess, coat right away. In fact, I did 3 of these in total at about the same exact time. It was starting to dry. Stain and Seal and Set Coat both, they do tend to cure pretty quickly, so you want to work fast. I did work fast, but it still did start to dry. And I was able to get like 3 coats in there almost right away. And once that was done, I just moved on to all of the other parts and did it in the exact same fashion. For all the other sides and the top, I added a teeny bit of water to the mix just so I could slightly thin it out. It spread out way easier that way. For the final paint coat, I brushed on 1 solid coat of Stain and Seal Pickling White. I had a little drama with the casters. I tried to use those ones I talked about at the start of the video. They're the post kind. Unfortunately, no matter how much hot glue I used, they were not staying in place. So I went and I bought a pack of 4 casters that have the plate style attachment instead. I used hot glue to adhere them down to the cardboard. Then I used hot glue under all 4 of the screws, and to attach it to this base, I just used the screws that it came with. This is pretty sturdy and no one's gonna sit on it, so I think it's gonna be fine. I did buy the new hardware on Amazon. I got a 6-pack. That way I can put the other 4 on the trash container, so at least all of the things are gonna match. To attach this, I just used a tape measure. I about found the center. I didn't really get bogged down in it being perfect here because, again, it's a cardboard coffee table, but punched a hole through and just attached the hardware that way. I should also point out that before I did this, I did 2 coats of Modern Masters Dead Flat Varnish top coat on the entire piece. I didn't bother filming that because you've seen me do it a million times. Everybody that is an OG on this channel knows that's my all-time favorite top coat, so if you want to see me using it, go back to probably like 85% of my videos and you'll see it there. That's why I just didn't film it. And again, I'm a pro YouTuber because I didn't film mostly anything for this video. And apparently didn't really care where the camera angles were even when I did film stuff. You're welcome, peeps. But once I got the hardware done, that was all she wrote, and all I had to do was install this piece, so now it's your turn. Feel free if you enjoyed this video and made it all the way to this far. I can't believe it, but thank you. I appreciate it so much, and that probably means that you enjoyed something about this, so feel free to go down below, subscribe, hit that button, hit the bell, get all your notifications, and then you'll be updated anytime I post. But like I said, that's all I've got for this one, except for those beauty shots. So hang in, because that's coming up next. But thanks for being here and watching, and later, peeps!